Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
Liberty Counsel supports legislative prayer in Iowa against a threat from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Matt Barber, director of cultural affairs for Liberty Counsel and associate dean for the law school. Matt, this is a situation where the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which is a very anti-Christian organization headquartered out of Madison, Wisconsin, has attempted to stop a long-standing practice in Iowa of opening its sessions with prayer. Liberty Counsel has responded, and we have sent a memo to those in authority there in Iowa defending the history of the Constitution that clearly says that, and our history underscores that prayer is permissible.
Well, the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again that prayers offered before public meetings are constitutional. And in fact, you point out how they're historical. That has been the process since the Constitutional Convention. Since day one, leaders have gathered together to pray, to worship, to fast, as Benjamin Franklin called on those who were designing the Constitution to pray and fast. And it's not just a kind of an amalgamous general idea of religion. This was praying and fasting to the Christian God. The vast majority of our founding fathers were clearly Christian, but this is what groups like the Freedom from Religion Foundation does. They come in, they mischaracterize the facts, and they flatly lie and use intimidation tactics in order to try to silence those with whom they disagree. We're not going to let them get away with it.
No, we're not. And in fact, they have essentially said, well, it's unconstitutional. It's an establishment of religion to start your legislative sessions with prayer. Well, the problem that we have with the Freedom from Religion Foundation is they're saying this to Iowa, but the United States Supreme Court in Marsh versus Chambers actually looked at a Nebraska situation a number of years ago where Nebraska was challenged because they offered prayer at the beginning of their legislative sessions as well. And the Supreme Court in Marsh versus Chambers looked at this from a historical perspective, and they said that historically prayer predated the First Amendment. And in fact, the same people that drafted the First Amendment, that proposed the First Amendment, the same Congress, as their first acts as a Congress, authorized prayer and authorized a paid chaplain to deliver the prayer. And from that time on, we've had prayer at legislative sessions. So how can the Congress that drafted a piece of an amendment, First Amendment, at the same time do something that's contradictory to the very amendment that they drafted? They didn't see the First Amendment as contradictory to offering prayer at legislative sessions.
This is the quintessential example of irony here. We have this group, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, that loathes, despises the Constitution and everything that it stands for, despises freedom of speech, freedom of religious expression, yet they are invoking the Constitution, manipulating and twisting the Constitution in order to try to say something that is clearly and has always been constitutional is unconstitutional. And this is the modus operandi of the left. It's really surreal. Sometimes you have to wonder whether you're living in an alternate universe, the way that they can take something that clearly says one thing and twist it and spin it in a way to suggest that it says the exact opposite. That's what we see here again.
And, that's one of the things that the left really is good at, and I use good in quotes, in the sense that they will actually take something that is completely contrary to the text and contrary to the history, so that when you hear what they're saying and you read the text and the history of the text, you're scratching your heads. How can they say that? They're actually saying something 180 degrees contrary to the text that they're relying upon. But they say it over and over again, and eventually they want people to believe that that's what the First Amendment actually says. And in fact, the First Amendment has nothing to do with stopping prayer at legislative sessions. Benjamin Franklin, you go all the way back before we even had a Constitution. the Constitutional Convention, where we were debating as to what kind of government we're going to have, was about ready to break apart, fall apart. Some people were actually leaving. America was not even possibly going to be birthed until Benjamin Franklin stood up in the midst of that group and said that we need to begin with prayer, that we used to pray whenever we were in the midst of the revolution. God heard our prayers, but have we forgotten that our powerful friend, or do we think we no longer need him? He then implored everyone to begin with prayer. They then moved across the street to a church and had a 3-day prayer session, came back, and then the Constitution a few weeks later was born. So we have this history of prayer, and then when we did have a Constitution, and then that group got together officially as the United States of America, those legislators authorized prayer to begin their sessions. And then later, those same legislators authorized the First Amendment. So we have this long history. But, they don't care about history. They don't care about the text. It's just no prayer because I say so. That's all it is. And if we don't have a rule of law, then that's what we degrade to. Whoever's in power can say what the law is, and that's why it is important that we follow the rule of law, we follow the intent, we follow the text of the Constitution.
Well, the left likes to talk about inconvenient truths. You have just decided one very inconvenient truth, and that is our entire history in this country. Another inconvenient truth for the left is the Constitution in our constitutional form of government. When despotism is the goal, or as the founder of the ACLU, Roger Baldwin once said, communism is the goal. Well, when communism is the goal, as with the ACLU and groups like the Freedom from Religion Foundation, inconvenient truths like the Constitution and like our United States history, our unequivocal and assailable United States history, when they get in the way, well, they just have to use Saul-Alinsky-type tactics to say that they are the exact opposite of what they actually are.
Well, you can read our letter that we sent to the Iowa legislature. You can go to lc.org and read our press release that we issued on this, and then you can click on the hot link with regards to our letter and read the actual letter that we sent to the Iowa General Legislative Assembly. Now, last year, the Iowa Atheist and Free Thinkers organization, they launched a similar unsuccessful effort against the state legislature's invocations. This year, the Freedom from Religion Foundation now is coming back, and they're claiming that such practices are unconstitutional, even though in this particular situation, the Iowa General Assembly acknowledges several religions. They actually have historically reached out to representatives of a number of faiths and denominations to offer prayer to open the sessions. The two chambers of the General Assembly this year actually passed their annual resolutions, again reaffirming prayer in that resolution in January of 2010.
Well, that's what we're here to do, Matt. That's what Liberty Counsel is here to do. We are here to educate the public, not just the public, but to educate legislators and our elected officials about the United States Constitution, what it actually says, using the very text, and countering the spin and frankly the lies of the secular socialist left. That's what we're all about. That's what the gifts of people like those listening right now enable us to do, because we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our lawsuits that we engage in, and file, we are funded by the generosity of individuals like those listening right now. That's how we're able to do what we do.
And Liberty Counsel has offices in Florida, Virginia, Washington, D.C., Texas, and we have hundreds of volunteer attorneys around the United States. So we have been in existence since 1989. And if it weren't for the prayers and financial support of people around the country, we wouldn't be able to file these letters or file briefs or defend individual liberties. And what would ultimately happen is what Proverbs says: he who states his case first seems right until another comes and challenges him. Well, we wouldn't be the one to come and challenge the Freedom from Religion Foundation or the Atheist and Free Thinkers. They'd just simply be stating their case, spouting off their ideas, maybe even filing some frivolous lawsuits, and because of that, simply intimidating people into silence. Liberty Counsel is there not only to defend the truth, but also to proactively, not just on a defensive, but be on the offense, to take these values and this history forward on the offense. So we, as an organization, have had a very successful track record, and it's because of the prayers of many of you and financial support and the blessing of God on this ministry. So get involved in Liberty Counsel this year. 2011, I think, is a very critical year. We have a lot of opportunities for you, both with Liberty Counsel and many of our other resources that we have available now. Ask for the New Patriots Handbook. It's one of our first publications from New Revolution Publishers, and that book has the Constitution and the Declaration. They're back in vogue now, believe it or not. Some people in Congress, we'll talk about it later this week, flunked the test. Don't you be one of them. Find out what the Constitution says. Ask for the New Patriots Handbook. Go to lc.org.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.